When I opened my eyes, the room was dim and humming and unfamiliar, and for a moment I couldn't tell if I was still alive. Pain radiated through my ribs and hip in slow, burning waves. Every breath felt like dragging broken glass across my lungs. But the sound that hurt most was the silence. No footsteps rushing in. No family voices trying to steady themselves. No one saying my name. A nurse leaned over me, adjusting a line in my arm. "Sierra, you're awake. That's good. You're safe at Mercy Hill Medical Center. Just take it slowly." I nodded, though the motion made my vision blur. "How long?" "Since the crash, a day and a half. You had internal bleeding, 2 fractured ribs, and a broken ankle. But you're stable now." She said it like an accomplishment, and maybe it was. Surviving felt like something I had to relearn. She hesitated before adding, "Do you want me to contact your emergency person?" I swallowed. "My dad. Gregory Dalton." She gave a reassuring smile and walked out. The door stayed shut for hours. Day shifted into night, then into another blurred morning. Nurses came and went, checking vitals, adjusting meds, asking if I needed anything. No one brought word from my father. No message, no call, not even a voicemail notification on my phone. I kept telling myself he must not know yet, or he was traveling, or his phone had died. It was easier to believe excuses than to accept the stillness around me. By the end of the 3rd day, a nurse with kind eyes paused at my bedside. "Sierra." We called him again. She drew in a careful breath. He answered this time. I waited. My heart did something heavy and hopeful inside my chest. He said he was aware of the situation. "That's it." She nodded, sympathy softening her features. He didn't ask for details. Something inside me tightened, a pressure that felt worse than the fractured bones. I nodded again, because nodding was easier than letting anything show. Early evening light slanted across the floor when I finally heard footsteps approaching steady, unhurried, familiar enough to twist something inside me. The door opened. My father stepped in looking exactly as he always did. Pressed shirt, sharp jaw, phone still in his hand like it had been growing there. No rush, no worry, no sign he'd spent even 1 minute imagining me broken on a hospital bed. He looked around the room before looking at me. "So," he said flatly, "you're awake. 3 days now. I managed—" "Right. They told me." He dragged a chair over with a sigh, as if he were settling in for an inconvenient meeting. Something in me braced, though I didn't know for what. He leaned forward. "We need to talk. It's about your brother, Nathan." A sharp, cold understanding slid through my chest. I had almost died, and he had finally come not for me, but for the crisis waiting outside my door. If you want me to keep telling this story, stay with me. There are some truths people don't hear until someone finally speaks them out loud. My father sat back in the chair like he owned the room. Elbows wide, legs crossed. The stance of a man who never arrived second in any conversation. He gave me a long look, the kind that suggested he was evaluating a problem he did not have time for. "I spoke to Nathan's lawyer this morning," he began. The tone was businesslike, clipped, as if we were discussing quarterly performance. "Your brother is facing a penalty from that investment group he partnered with. A significant one." I waited, hoping for even a moment's hesitation before he reached the point. "He needs help," he said plainly, "and we need to respond fast." My ribs ached with the effort of breathing. "You didn't come because of the accident." He frowned, waving the comment away. "You are stable. The doctor said so. But Nathan, I cut in, sharper than I intended. Dad, I almost died." He blinked at me like I had interrupted a meeting. "I am not minimizing what happened. But you are alive. Sierra, Nathan's situation could escalate. We cannot afford that." It landed like a cold slap. Alive was apparently the threshold. Alive meant I no longer required his attention. He leaned forward, The penalty is $27,000. If we do not resolve it, it could become public. The Daltons do not need that kind of exposure. I stared at him. You want me to pay it. I want you to step up, he corrected, as if the words carried different moral weight. You work in tech. You have savings. You have always been reliable. Reliable. Not loved. Not cared for. Not asked how I had survived a side-impact collision that shattered the driver's side of my car. Just reliable. Dad, I said carefully, I am lying here with a broken ankle and fractured ribs. Nathan hasn't even called me. He is overwhelmed. My father's voice sharpened. You know how pressure affects him. Pressure. I let out a fragile laugh. It hurt, so I pressed a hand lightly to my side. He ran an illegal investment group. He pressured other people. My father's jaw tightened. He made mistakes. He is young. He deserves another chance. He is 32. That is not old. He snapped. No, I thought, not old. Just old enough to know someone will always clean up after him. I cannot do this, I whispered. Not now. He stared at me as if the word no were a foreign dialect. You should not be selfish. Sierra, family steps up when it matters. And when I was in surgery, when they were trying to stop the bleeding, where was family then? His silence was immediate and punishing. Without another word, he stood, straightened his shirt, and reached for his phone. This attitude, he said calmly, is disappointing. Then he walked out of the room, leaving the door half open, as if even closing it behind him required too much effort. My father's footsteps had barely faded before the door clicked again. A nurse stepped inside to adjust my IV. Her name tag read Maribel, and she had the calm, practiced way of someone used to walking patients through pain gently. You need anything, she asked. I shook my head, but my voice came out thin. Did he say anything when he came in? Maribel hesitated. He asked where the billing office was. That was all she said, but the weight of it settled over me. When she left, the quiet felt sharper. It made room for memories I had pushed aside for years, memories that never stayed buried long. The first one came back whole. I was 15. Sitting at the kitchen table with application papers for a robotic summer program spread out in front of me. I had worked the entire school year tutoring to save for it. I was proud, really proud. My father came home early that day, jaw tight, face stormy. Nathan trailed behind him, 17 and pale, smelling faintly of beer and panic. No one explained anything at first. Later, Mom sat beside me. Your brother made a mistake, she said softly. He needs a lawyer. I stared at her. What about my program? We will figure it out next year, she replied. Right now, the family needs to be united. United had meant my savings vanished overnight. Nathan never apologized. Dad never mentioned it again. Another memory rose, this one at 18. I had been accepted into a selective summer program at Berkeley. I showed the email to my father at breakfast, waiting for even a flicker of pride. Instead, he set his coffee down and said, Your brother totaled the SUV. Insurance will not cover everything. We need to prioritize. Prioritize meant Berkeley disappeared from my plans. Nathan went on a road trip with friends the following month. Even in college, the pattern never changed. I worked 2 campus jobs to stay afloat. Nathan launched a startup that collapsed in 3 months. Dad bailed him out with a quiet transfer, calling it an investment in his future. When I once asked why there was always money for Nathan, Dad answered, He is trying to build something. You are stable. You are fine. Lying in the hospital bed now, body held together by stitches and screws. I repeated that line in my head. You are fine. It had never been true. I had barely slept when morning light crept across the floor, Every shift of my body sent a pulse of pain through my ribs, but the real ache sat deeper. It grew heavier when the door opened again. My father stepped inside. No knock, no greeting. A folder tucked under his arm. He pulled the same chair to the bedside and sat, posture rigid. I spoke to Nathan's lawyer again. He said, "This situation is worse than we thought." My throat felt tight. "I told you yesterday he cut me off with a single raised hand. We do not have time for hesitations. If we pay part of the penalty quickly, the rest can be negotiated. It keeps everything quiet." "Quiet," I repeated. "You mean hidden, managed," he corrected. "Handled before it follows him for years." I didn't respond. He took the silence as permission. "I know you have savings," he continued. "A substantial amount. You have always been disciplined." "I saved for myself," I said softly. "And you will get the money back." He shot back. "This is temporary." I looked at him, really looked. "You didn't come when they were trying to stop the bleeding. You didn't come when I was in surgery. You came when you needed something." He exhaled sharply, annoyance flickering. "I am here now. For Nathan. For the family." He snapped. "Which includes you. Unless you insist on isolating yourself." Something stung at the back of my eyes. "I almost died, and you are angry that I am not jumping to fix this." He leaned closer. "You cannot make this about you." "That did it." My voice shook, but not from fear. "It is about me. I was alone for 3 days." He looked at me as if I had said something childish. "You are alive. Sierra. You are stable. Nathan is facing real consequences. I faced a 2-ton vehicle slamming into my door." "And you survived," he replied, as if that settled everything. A cold stillness spread through me. "No," I whispered. "I am not giving him anything." His jaw tightened. "You need to reconsider." "I won't," I said louder this time. His eyes narrowed, calculating. "If you let your brother fall, you will not like the outcome. Do not force me into a position where I have to choose. You already chose." I said. He stared at me for several seconds, expression cooling into something unfamiliar. "This bitterness," he said calmly, "is not who you used to be." Then he rose, closed the folder, and walked out. The door clicked behind him, and the room felt smaller. I let my head fall back onto the pillow, breath shallow, chest burning. I did not break, but the effort not to came dangerously close. 3 days after discharge, I shuffled up the last flight of stairs to my apartment, every step sending heat up my leg. May had offered to drive me home, but I told her I could manage. I wanted quiet. I wanted control over something, even if it was just getting through my own front door. But when I reached the landing, I froze. My father was standing right outside my apartment, and beside him, leaning against the wall like he was bored, was Nathan. The crutch under my arm slipped slightly. "How did you know I was getting discharged today?" My father answered without looking ashamed. "Billing called me to confirm insurance details." Then, as if that explained everything, he added, "We need to talk." I tightened my grip on the crutch. "I already gave you my answer." Nathan pushed off the wall, eyes red-rimmed but dry. "Sierra, come on. You know I am drowning. I cannot fix this alone." "You never try," I said. His jaw clenched. "That is unfair." "Is it?" I asked. "I was in the hospital for 4 days." Nathan's gaze flicked away. "Dad said you were stable." My father stepped between us. "This is becoming unnecessary drama. You can help. You choose not to." I braced my crutches and stood straighter. "I almost died, and neither of you walked through that door until you needed something." Nathan let out a sharp breath. "So this is punishment." "This," I said slowly, "is me protecting myself." My father took a step closer. "You think refusing will make you stronger? It makes you vindictive." "No," I whispered. It makes me done." His expression hardened. "You are making a mistake," Nathan added. "You would let your own brother get buried over $27,000, and you let me lie in a hospital bed alone," I replied, voice thin but steady. My father raised his chin. "Last chance. Sierra, family stands together." I reached into my coat pocket and lifted my phone. "If you do not leave, I will call the police." For one brief second, neither of them moved. My father looked stunned, like the word police had never been aimed in his direction before. Nathan muttered something under his breath and stepped back. My father finally spoke. "You are choosing this. I am," I said. Without another word, they turned and walked down the stairs. Their footsteps faded, but the air they left behind felt thick and trembling. I unlocked my door, stepped inside, and leaned against it after it closed. My hands shook so badly I almost dropped my phone, but I stayed standing. For once, I had not been the one who bent. For 2 days, the apartment felt unnervingly quiet. I slept in short bursts, waking whenever my ribs reminded me they were still broken. May came by after her shift, bringing soup and charging cables. She never asked about my father or Nathan. She just sat nearby, letting me breathe. On the third afternoon, my phone buzzed with a notification from someone I had not spoken to in years. Jordan Lee, my cousin. "Hey, sorry to bother you. Your dad said you're refusing to help Nathan because you're still holding old grudges. Is everything okay?" My stomach pulled tight. They were spinning the story already. I typed back slowly. "Can we talk?" Jordan called within minutes. His voice was warm, cautious. "Sierra, I did not expect you to actually pick up. I need to ask what he told you." He sighed. "That you refused to help. That you have money saved, but you said no out of spite. He made it sound like you wanted Nathan to fail." I shut my eyes. "Jordan." I was in the hospital. There was a long pause. "What happened?" So I told him. Not everything, but enough: the crash, the surgery, the 4 days alone, the way my father walked in only to talk about $27,000, the doorstep ambush when I got home. Jordan exhaled quietly. "That is not the version your dad shared." I figured. "You know," he said carefully, "this is not the first time." I eased back against the cushions. "What do you mean Aunt Cassandra lent Nathan $12,000 last year? He promised to pay her back in 2 months. He never did. Your dad told everyone she was mismanaging her expectations. She stopped coming to holidays. I held the phone tighter. She never said a word to me. She was embarrassed," Jordan said. "And Uncle David, he helped Nathan with some of his business fees. Your dad told the family David overreacted when he asked about repayment." My chest felt heavy. "Why did no one say anything? Because everyone thought they were alone," he answered. A soft knock sounded at my door. May poked her head in, holding tea. I motioned that I was okay, and she sat beside me, listening quietly. Jordan continued. "Look, people are starting to see a pattern. Your dad might not like it, but the story is unraveling." I let the words settle, unsure whether to feel relieved or exposed. Jordan cleared his throat. "We're having a small cookout next weekend. No Greg, no Nathan, just the cousins and a few of the aunts. You should come. We would really like to see you." My voice came out softer than I intended. "I will think about it." "Think about it," he repeated warmly. "And Sierra, I believe you." When the call ended, May set the tea beside me and gently squeezed my shoulder. I did not speak. I did not need to. The truth had finally started to echo somewhere other than inside my own head. Jordan's cookout took place the following Saturday in the backyard of his townhouse just outside Tacoma. May insisted on driving me. I tried to argue, but she handed me her car keys and said, "Either I drive, or we sit in silence and stare at each other. Choose." So I let her drive. When we arrived, Jordan waved from the patio. Sierra, you made it. There was no judgment in his tone, just relief. I eased myself out of the car with my crutches. A few cousins I had not seen in years looked over. No one whispered. No one stared. They simply walked toward me like I had never been gone. A woman I recognized as Aunt Cassandra stepped forward, eyes soft. "Honey," she said, voice trembling. "I heard about the accident. I should have called sooner." "You did not know," I replied. She touched my arm gently. "That should not have mattered." Uncle David joined her, plate in hand. "You look stronger than I expected," he said, then added, "Greg has been telling everyone you turned your back on the family. I am glad to finally hear your side." May appeared at my shoulder like quiet backup. "She has not turned her back on anything," she said firmly. "She just stopped being used." David let out a small, surprised laugh. "That sounds about right." We sat on folding chairs under a string of lights. Cassandra handed me a plate loaded with salmon and vegetables. "Eat," she said. "Healing needs fuel." For the first time since the crash, my chest loosened a little. Conversation flowed around me, stories about new jobs, babies, broken appliances, spilled wine at weddings. Normal things. Human things. No one asked me to fix anything. No one demanded explanations or money. At one point, Jordan sat beside me. "I am glad you came," he said. "It is different without Greg around, isn't it? It feels lighter," I admitted. We all saw how he treated Nathan. Jordan continued quietly. "But we did not realize how it shaped the way he treated you." "We should have paid attention. You did not owe me that," I said. "Maybe not," he replied. "But blood should mean something. We are trying to make it mean something again." Later, when the sun dipped and people packed leftovers into containers, May drove me back to Seattle. She kept one hand on the wheel and one hand lightly resting on the console, as if grounding the air between us. "You okay?" she asked. "I think so," I said. For the first time in a long time, when we reached my apartment, I unlocked the door, stepped inside, and breathed in the familiar quiet. It no longer felt like isolation. It felt like space. I changed the locks the next morning. Then I updated my emergency contact at Mercy Hill May Park, the only person who had shown up without being asked. Finally, I opened my voicemail settings and deleted my last name. "You have reached Sierra," the recording said when I finished. It felt right. A week after the cookout, May knocked on my door holding 2 travel mugs and a printed map of the Oregon coast. "Road trip," she announced. "You in?" I hesitated only long enough to grab my jacket. "I am in," she smiled. "Good. You deserve something that is just yours." As we drove south, the hum of the highway settled into something steady inside me. I watched the road stretching ahead, long and open, nothing like the one that had nearly taken me out. May kept her voice gentle. "Any word from your dad?" "No," I said, "and I think that silence is the first one that does not hurt." She nodded once, as if she had been waiting for me to say it. We stopped at a lookout near Lincoln City. I stepped out carefully, leaning on the car door as the wind pushed against my hair. May stood beside me. "You know," she said, "you did not destroy your family. You stopped carrying it alone." I let the words settle. I think I am finally choosing myself. "And that," she said softly, "is the beginning." We stayed there for a long moment. I breathed in as deeply as my ribs allowed. The air felt clean, unpressured, mine. Before we got back in the car, I pulled out my phone. "If anyone wants to hear the truth," I said quietly, "I am ready to tell it." May grinned. "Then share it. Someone out there needs it. So if you are still here with me, keep listening. Some stories crack open the places you were taught to hide. This is mine, and maybe, in hearing it, you will finally give yourself permission to stop carrying what was never yours.